Hi guys, my name's Daryl Sheether and welcome to this week's edition of Project TJ. Air conditioning, because we don't have it working at the moment, which is a real nuisance. It's worked sporadically over the past couple of years. When it works really well though. I've had it regassed twice. The first time it lasted a good 12 months and I used to get freezing on one of the tubes and you'd have to turn the air off, let it defrost, and then you could turn it back on again. Worked out that was a blocked accumulator tube which slows the gas down. It's just a little gadget that pulls in and pulls out of the end of the tube. I've replaced the O-rings after the air depleted of that time and had it regassed again, and it didn't last too long at all. So I don't know whether I got a really bad regassing or there's a bigger issue. So I figured the easiest way is, and normally what goes in this is the compressor, or you've got a leak in a condenser or a leak in one of the hoses. The hoses seem good. The O-rings are all new, so, and I can't see a problem with those. We're down to condenser, compressor or accumulator. The accumulator collects any moisture that's in the system. After a while they don't collect any more moisture, so they're a really cheap thing to replace. Degree of difficulty with this though is that when we're looking at left and right hand drive Jeeps, the major differences are within steering or air conditioning, heating type things. Some of this I've worked out, the compressor is the same, and we've bought an AC Delco unit. All of these parts I've got from Rock Auto just because I can get quality parts fairly cheap and I've got nothing to do with them except that I find them quite good to deal with. This is a complete unit. It's pre-oiled, it's ready to go in the car, so it's 3 bolts out and back in again. Condenser seems to be exactly the same between left and right hand drive, except for the fact it may be mounted slightly to one side. The brackets, however, are on this flange here and just bolt through. So if I need to re-drill those brackets, that's not a problem whatsoever. So I'm hoping that's the only degree of difficulty with that. The accumulator has a connection for when you're refilling it with gas. We just won't use that. And apart from that, it seems fairly straightforward. So, cross our fingers.
2,000 years later.
Okay guys, so it's a couple of weeks down the track since I did the intro, and whilst I normally like to show you the workings of any mechanical work I do, this time I'm not. Had all sorts of trouble getting a bolt out on the compressor. Not that it was hard to get out, it was just difficult to get access to it, and in the end, and it was the top bolt. It was the top bolt on the compressor. It's tucked up underneath the manifold. Whilst you can see it from here, you can't actually get too much access to it, and in the end it was a ratchet head socket with an extension on and turning it 1 or 2 clicks at a time, and because it's a really long bolt it took so long to get out and so long to get back in. The other 2 bolts, there's one at the back and 1 long bolt underneath, pretty simple to get out, and then the compressor just drops out from underneath. I did jack the car body up slightly to drop the axle down to give me a bit more room, and it just came straight out. So the process of doing the compressor was remove the fan belt, remove the 2 nuts on the air conditioning pipes that go to the compressor. They just pull out of the compressor. There's a bolt here, and the offending bolt that was really difficult to get out was this fella right up the back. Now installation was just the reversal of that. Everything bolted in fine. The new compressor came full of oil. It just bolted straight up to the wiring socket, and apart from that bolt was a fairly painless affair. Now to fit the condenser, I didn't undo the radiator, I undid the mounts. There's a bolt either side at the top and 1 lower down. You can push the radiator back enough to cover yourself. With the fitting of the condenser, this is the old one, there's 2 bolts at the bottom. You can get those from underneath the car. and the top two mounts are more like locating pins. So once you undo these, you should be able to slip the radiator up. The top two ones have rubber mounts on them. Now with the mounts on the condenser, I've had to reuse the studs. They just screw out of the old one and screw into the new one. For those right-hand drive owners, you can use a left-hand drive condenser on a right-hand drive car, and I'll put down the part number for the 05, 06 versions underneath. Now anything that I disassembled, I put new O-rings in again. I put new O-rings on this. I put new O-rings on the condenser inputs. Now I also installed a new emulsion tube. This is the old one and it looks pretty manky. That goes into the end of the tube that goes into the condenser, the larger pipe of the two, and just pulls out for a pair of pliers. It's just sitting at the end of the tube. So after all that, I took it down and had the air conditioning regassed at my local mechanics. He did a sniff test. There are no leaks in the car, so we can put the problem down to the compressor or the condenser. All the O-rings were previously done, so yeah, not that. So I'm saying it was a dead compressor, but now we've got both of those fixed. The system's in quite good condition. As I said, I didn't do the accumulator, so we can take that out of the equation as causing us any issues, mainly because of my time constraints at that point, and that I have to pull the heater box out to do the heater core, which means unbuttoning the air conditioning system again. Once I get all that fitted, I will install the new accumulator and button it up, and we should be right for another 10 years, cross fingers. So yeah, the big thing to take out of that is that the parts for the left-hand drive fit the right-hand drive. So compressor and condenser work perfectly. So for me here in Australia, trying to source either inferior parts or very expensive parts, I didn't have to do. So it worked out really well, very happy with that. So that's it for this week, guys. Sorry I didn't show the workings on that as I normally like to, but sometimes these things happen. The main thing to take away is for those guys with right-hand drive cars is those parts fit from the left-hand drive market. Next week I've got an interesting steering wheel replacement. Quite looking forward to that. I hope it works. And as always, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, like our videos, and if you want some new merch, the link is down below. See you guys. Bye.